Anne dreams that she's driving up a vertical hill and she's afraid that if she even touches the brake, she'll fall backwards. Tom Fahy joins me in studio to discuss this dream and what he likes about it. Then Dianne dreams of watching a boy from the 1800s being devoured in a tank of sharks. We discuss how that dream shows how her former incarnation holds her back from using her spiritual gifts in this one. Hello and welcome to the Dream Interpretation Podcast, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. When we look at your dreams, we are eavesdropping on what your higher self deems to be the most important message that your soul could have received last night. That's the whole point of your dreams. And so when we do that eavesdropping, we know what's important and what you need to do, what your higher self is asking you to work on. Your higher self is responsible, of course, for this incarnation, for you coming here, and for all the challenges that you are meant to overcome in this particular lifetime. So that's why we do it. That's why we look at dreams to do what we do. But I say it all the time. I tell you from your dreams what is amazing about you, what your spiritual gifts are and more. And then I tell you the obstacles that you need to overcome, what's holding you back. The obstacle is not in the way, it is the way, because our life is about growth, us growing, as well as using our gifts to help other people. But the real growth for us is in overcoming the obstacles that we often think is really something that's just in the way of us achieving our life purpose, rather than it actually being what it is, which is our actual life purpose. So if you want to get your dream analyzed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com and send it to the show via there. You can also download my free dictionary, which has thousands of entries, all from real dreams that I've used and analyzed on the show over the years. So you're getting the real meaning of what particular symbols mean. And you can always find that show and find out, why do I say that? Where does it come from? But it's going to be a great tool for you to use to help analyze your own dreams. Of course, you can send your dreams to me and let me have a go at analyzing them. And the advantage of doing that, of course, is anybody whose dream that gets used on the show can get a free call with me to talk about that particular dream and any of the questions they have around it, all for free. So dream-analysis.com, that's where you need to go to get all that information and submit your dreams. So let's start off with the interview with Tom. All right. Well, Tom, thank you very much for coming back to the show.
Thank you.
I've had you on doing things before, doing dreams before, and you also did readings for people who won a competition last March. It's coming up to Patrick's Day again. But
that's right, yeah.
So if people love the sultry sound of your voice, they can go back to shows around then to find you. So I asked you to find a dream that would be of interest to you to talk about on the show. But first of all, just remind people a bit of background. What has you into dream work? What was the draw for you?
Oh, the draw has developed over many years. But when I finally found your style of interpretation, and in fact, your very first session, when you instructed me to lay off the dairy produce, it was just kind of so definite, as opposed to the Jungian interpretation that I kind of experienced about a dozen years previously. It really kind of startled me how you could be so clear on it. But it's kind of a long story. I would have been interested in the dreams, trying to figure them out for many years before that, and had given up really until I found this. I'd given up for many years until I found this system.
All right. So, okay. Well, that's cool. And of course, you're a graduate of the Ashling School program for over a year at this stage, so got lots of practice with doing it. So this dream is from somebody we're calling Anne. And I'll read the dream, and then you can tell me what you want to talk about in it. So it's a recurring dream, which I think is always important to know it's a recurring dream. There's always more of a a drive to find out what that particular dream means, because what are they missing over and over and over and over. So she says, I'm driving on a motorway, and then the road turns into a bridge or flyover, and the road starts to rise gently at first, and then goes into an extremely steep hill, almost completely upright. As I'm driving, I know I have to keep momentum or the car will simply fall off the road. So I keep driving up and up the road. I'm terrified to brake or to change gear in case my car slips backwards. What happens then in each dream is that that another car appears in front of me to slow me down. I'm sitting in my car, willing them sometimes, shouting at them to go faster so that I can stay on the road. I've never actually got to the end of the road. Usually I wake either from a sensation of falling, that my car has started to slip back down the road, or I wake before that happens. The sensation from the dream is not that I am driving to somewhere, but that I am driving away from somewhere. I am always in my own car. So do you want to give us a summary of it, and why of all the dreams you've done, you like this particular one? And it has to, like, it's your interest, not ours.
Okay, well, yeah, it's because it was a recurring dream. It seemed to have extra promise. And it was this lady was middle-aged, near middle-aged, and I'd never had a dream interpreted, so I had no clue as to what might have come from this. And this had haunted her for well over 20 years, I think, maybe on and off. And it just seemed to several of the symbols really opened up the conversation with her. And it was in my early days of dream interpretation with clients. So she was pretty startled, really, with what came up. It's not that I think it's that particularly complex a dream for anyone to figure out, but it was just really affirming to see that the symbols were so on the button. And
would you want to explain it to us then? Tell us what the dream means.
Okay, well, I guess I open by saying that Anne seems to be feels life is an uphill struggle, and she feels under pressure to keep going at all costs. It's all down to her, and she concurred with that there was a certain feeling of that, and so she has to keep driving, but the road keeps going up and up, so she keeps going up kind of into her head, in effect, in a sense, and away from her heart, and she's afraid to go back down into it. The bridge flyover thing didn't really pan out. She didn't see. I was thinking that was something to do with some transition she was undergoing in her life. That didn't really hit home with her. But then, after a moment or two, I was saying, well, what's all this pressure about you that you, this dream is telling me that you could potentially have some problem with your heart, because of the bridge, it's on a motorway, so it's the circulatory system. And when I said that, then the conversation really started to open up, because she just couldn't figure out where did that come from? And I explained to her that the motorway would be the arterial system of the heart and all that. So she said, in fact, she has a heart condition, not a hugely major one, but it's an ongoing heart condition for many years. She takes the medication, but she had passed out in the car park a few weeks previously while out shopping. So that was just really affirming anyway. And it got for somebody who was doubtful as to what I was about doing this dream, she started to talk some more. And so then we talked about, of course, if it's a heart issue, I said it's probably something to do with your mom, something from the background and from your background. And it turns out that she had a really difficult relationship with her mom, and she had been fostered out as a young girl. Her mom was sounds like she was abusive, really, and the foster mom was also abusive. And so it was, and used to drag her around by the hair and things like that. She even had to cut her hair some point to stop that happening. And her first heart incident was at about age 9, after a particularly vicious assault from the foster parent, you know. So this really resonated deeply with her, I guess. And in my early days, it struck me how deeply we got into the real issues, you know, in her life. I did suggest to her following that she might do a cutting of the ties with Mom. But that was kind of new to her, and she didn't take me up on it anyway at that point. So I don't know if she's gone on and done anything, except that she told me that the dream stopped after the interpretation.
That was going to be my question. Yeah. So a lot of people have horrible recurring dreams, and they're always like, what can I do? And of course, you can do therapy. That'll stop your dreams. But usually, if you know what the dream means, that stops it in its tracks too, because it's clear you now have the message, especially if it's a recurring dream. And so that fits that bill. It would be difficult for somebody like Anne, though, to jump into therapy, regardless of the type of therapy, because of the fact that the people who are meant to help her, like she's meant to be taken from a difficult situation and helped in a system that, in my view, is appalling. And it didn't help. It gave other people permission to abuse this already desperate child. I mean, so you're not as likely to say, oh, okay, I'm going to listen to somebody who seems to know what they're talking about, because I've had a life of people telling me they know what they're talking about. And so it's a much more delicate situation for somebody like her.
I was really impressed with the way that the symbols opened it up, you know, and even looking at it further, it's like, you know, she keeps going up and up. The car always going up and up, and she's afraid of falling back. So she's afraid of coming down into her heart and dealing with this issue that is obviously eating away at her for 40 years or whatever, you know.
She says she's driving away from somewhere as well. So still the pressure is because of the past, because it's something behind her as opposed to something she's driving to. Most of us in our dreams, we want to get somewhere, and it's all about a goal and achieving a goal. But here the focus is still on trying to get away from the past, which you can't do, because it's locked into your subconscious. You can with therapy. Tom, thank you very much for bringing this dream to the show. It is interesting, and it's very interesting to get insights from the analyst as well as the dreamer, because I rarely say why I like a particular dream. I like so many dreams. How can people contact you if they want to have you work your dream magic on one of their dreams?
Well, they can book me on my Book Like a Boss page, which is on ashlingschool.com / Tom Fahy, TOMFAHY. All
right. And it's just ironic that, or coincidence, that you were on last St. Patrick's Day, you and Lorraine. So happy St. Patrick's Day, I presume, to everybody again. We will try and have you on sooner next time. That was great. We have to have Tom and others back on the show. Really enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed his perspective on a dream rather than listening to mine all the time. So let's move on. Let's have a look at some dreams I got in during the week. This one is from Dianne, and she calls it Sharks Devouring Children. Well, that's not a good title. So let's have a look. She says, I would love to hear your take on this dream. I've looked up as many symbols as I could find in your dictionary, which is very helpful, she says. Buttering me up, of course, is exactly how to get your dream picked. She said, the behavior of the sharks and the manta rays with the huge window of a church are concerning to me. And the boy's clothes, he seemed from the late 1800s to early 1900s. I am very religious and spiritual. Many of my dreams are in religious buildings like churches and temples, and with religious figures, prophets from old and present. It is just confusing to put everything together. Thank you much for the work you do and your contribution to the world. Whoa, and she even goes on further. But thank you for that, Dianne. Well, let's have a look at your dream then. With all that buttering up, hopefully I do it justice. So the dream starts off with me going through a very small town with Ryan, my husband, and we were impressed at how well painted all the houses were. I said that it was like the mayor went around painting all the houses. Then we met the mayor and he said, yes, that he gave them, the members of the community, the spray tool and told them that if they didn't do it, he would. He used an example. His adult son came out of a house that was a pinkish cinder block stone, but it was raw and it needed to be painted. The mayor threw him the spray gun and something funny was said, and then it was known that this was the mayor's own house that he had yet to take care of himself. Okay, the dream continues on, but let's stop there for a moment. So obviously there's something about the relationship in the dream, but I'm not going to go into that. We can discuss that in a one-to-one. I'll send you the link to call me. So let's stick on the spiritual stuff because of the churches and so on. And I know you said you're religious and spiritual, and so churches feature for you, but it still is a spiritual dream. The mayor, what is a mayor? A mayor is a leader of a community. And so it means that you're a spiritual leader. That's the first gift we see that you have in the dream, spiritual leadership. But then we see all the houses painted the same way. Now, that's not great. You don't tell us what way they are. So what you've got to watch then is, because the mayor is male in this dream and spiritual leadership works through female energy. And then we see lots of men featuring in your dream later on. We'll get to that later on too. But so the men in the dreams are going to represent you being too male in your approach to spiritual leadership. And dreams exaggerate. So when I say too male, it's not really a slap on the wrist. It's like, think of it this way. Male energy, when not balanced, can be controlling, can be too intellectual, like rationalizing, thinking your way through things rather than listening to your heart. And I would kind of go along with the controlling, because the mayor is making everybody paint their house the same color. And of course, it's not the same path for everybody in life. We have to just accept that everybody has their own upbringing, their own influences, their own family dynamics, and their path and their way to achieve their goals in life are going to not necessarily be the same as yours. So allow that people have differences. The other reason I'm focusing on the male side is because you say it's a spray gun, and anything, like a spray gun is a perfect male symbol. So it's like this male energy is being used, or masculine energy is being used to control others or to paint over other things. So that's what you're going to have to work on, is dropping out of that, being intellectual, being rational, being controlling. And again, dreams are exaggerating, so it's not going to be in every area of your life. So look for where these areas are and say, how can I do it differently? How can I bring in feminine energy, which of course is the energy Jesus used? Like, think about how any pictures you see of Jesus, the chest is open to expose his heart. And so it's all about feminine energy. Spiritual leadership is all about feminine energy. No masculine energy in it whatsoever. The last thing that's in this part is the mayor threw the spray gun to his son. So again, male, passing it to male. And the mayor's house, turns out he has yet to take care of himself. So this is going to be about you needing to take care of yourself. So it continues on. Then we're at a town meeting of some sort. Melissa, my friend, was there, and our children were giving speeches. Brody, my oldest son, did a good job, stumbling a little, but I was proud of him. Then her daughter Clarissa got up and zoomed through a huge memorized script. So we don't like, the memorized part isn't great. It's like, be yourself. It's all about being yourself. It's not about being perfect or coming across as perfect. It's all about just being yourself. Melissa's kids wanted some of the candy I had. So I'm going to say, even though that's barely in there, that you also have a hands-on healing ability, because candy is a treat. And so it's about healing kids. You're able to work with kids and help them heal. Then we were singing in the Wilford Ward choir. It's a church choir. I was in charge. You say you're in charge, right? So again, you in charge is the same as the mayor. You're a spiritual leader. We know that for sure. We also know that you are a channel, because that's what the choir is about, and the music, which comes up in a moment as well. But when I showed up, Amy, my friend from church, had started playing the piano from her iPad. So who is Amy? like you say who she is, but what are her traits? Whatever negative traits she has are traits you need to drop, or whatever positive traits she has are traits you need to adopt. So that's all going to apply, but you'll know automatically, do you think of something positive or negative when it comes to Amy? What comes first? Because that's what it's going to be about. I sat down at the piano and I seemed to be trying to catch up and find the song to play as they sang. So this is something about you feeling like you're playing catch up, of course, in your spiritual leadership and your channeling abilities. The young men were singing beautifully a song called Start. So again, emphasis on the men. And the song is called Start. So it's a bit like, the house isn't painted, so you've got to start. So I suspect you totally know what your thing is, what your abilities are, and you need to launch into that. And we see what holds you back in a moment. When we were all done singing, a couple of girls in the choir said they weren't even religious and weren't members of the church. Kaylin was one of them, my little sister's friend in real life. She's not a member of the church and came from an abusive alcoholic family, but she was there at church, which I thought was a good thing. So this says that you're also meant to work with people who aren't religious. Clearly that's what it is. And you see that as a good thing in the dream. So that's absolutely fine. But here's another thing. We can't ignore this. When a dream introduces a girl from an abusive alcoholic family, it means there is a significance to that in your life. And we tend to be able to see the issues in someone else's life more easily than our own, though. And so that's why this shows up. So if this doesn't immediately ring a bell for you, Diana, it still applies. And because of what's coming up next, it's going to be a former life influence. So it's easy to look at your own life and say, okay, was there abuse? Was there an alcoholic? And abuse isn't always what we think of on the outside. We always think of something horrific that we see in other people's lives. So look and see, is there something there that causes you to hold back? And like I said, if there isn't, then it's a former life thing. And we're going to see that in a moment. And this is where it really takes a strange turn, which makes it an interesting dream. You said, then someone opened the curtains to the windows on either side of the chapel. These windows are huge. And there's a bit missing here. You just say the something it twins are usually light cream. We don't know what the something is, and I wish I did, because light cream is a very good color in dreams. It's about acceptance, the need for acceptance and tolerance. And so that's what you need at this moment in time. The windows stretch the full height of the chapel, which could be 20 to 30 feet tall. The curtains are very rarely opened in real life. And so curtains, so we see the girl with the abusive family, and then we see curtains that are normally closed. And so it's like you have to open up to your own intuition, which is a feminine energy ability, and that's what the windows represent. And it's huge because these windows are huge. So we know you've got this ability in spades. Intuition works through feeling and feminine energy, like I said, same as spiritual leadership. And you said they're rarely open. So something causes you to not open this, not to listen to your intuition. You say it was like an aquarium, only the water on the other side was full of sharks and some other dangerous manta ray-like creature. The sharks and the manta rays, were wrestling in a great and powerful tornado of bodies moving down and up, as if devouring something. At first I saw bones floating around them in their heap. Then I saw little shoes and legs, and could tell the little child they were devouring, and you said seems like it might have been twins, was still somewhat alive. He got smashed into the window, revealing he wore old-fashioned knicker-bottomed pants with a newsy hat. He had brilliant blonde hair and deep brown eyes. They were drowning him and devouring him. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So the brilliant blonde hair says that you're a guide. Well, I channeled on it, made me think about that. So you're a guide in reality, which is really cool. If you've been listening to my show, then you know what that means. So you're on your last necessary earth life. You're here to work in the spiritual field for sure. You have the gift of prophecy, along with all the other things I said. But you said he had deep brown eyes. So you also have the gift of clairvoyance. You get images. When your guides talk to you, they use images to talk to you. That's one of the ways they do it. Now let's get back to this poor kid. You say, I was shocked that no one cared that this was such a thing and that this type of moat would be surrounding and decorating the church. No wonder no one opens those curtains. Now, this is a kid from a different time in life. And so it's about a previous incarnation for you. And being religious, I'm not sure what your view of incarnations is and reincarnation, but that's what this part of the dream is about. So you have lived a life where you were persecuted for using your abilities, because we have the intuition and the channeling show up in the dream right before, and you say the brown eyes emphasized of this boy, so we know that you channeled in a former life, and then were persecuted for it. And the sharks and the manta rays, they represent that persecution. Sharks were out to get you, that kind of thing. The manta ray, they're pretty harmless to humans, from what I can tell from reading about them, but they're absolutely huge. And obviously they have the word man in it. So again, it's going to be, and it's a boy in the dream, so it's going to be a masculine energy that needs to be overcome. And that masculine energy, and keeping the curtains closed, is because of how you were treated in this former life. You say, I ran outside and started yelling, get them out, save them. Suddenly I see that my boy child had fallen in too, although I really only saw cute little shoes, which were about the size of a 1-year-old. Somehow, some people, men, showed up in the water and were able to get my little boy child that had fallen in. So again, you're rescuing your male side at that age, and it's 1. So up until age 1 and a little bit more, we have a connection with our former lives. So it's saying that you at that age became masculine. Again, masculine meaning intellectual or controlling, or some other negative masculine energy aspect, because of the connection with the former life that you had, and memory of it you had at that point. But here you are in the dream, getting people to heal that aspect, to save your child. You said, as I put him down and said, the sharks will eat you. And then the men began to save this other young boy. So he was saved too. So that's really good. And you said you woke up at that point very scared. So it's a good end to the dream. This is what you need to do. You need to overcome what causes you to use a masculine energy approach to what is a very feminine energy ability. That's the intuition, the spiritual leadership, and then the channeling requires both energies. So I'm just going to do one last quick dream, because I said I would. I was with my German Shepherd Jaeger, and I was giving him treats, and then his soul incarnated into another dog body, and we were both so happy that we were together again. Well, the simple meaning of this dream is that you helped Jaeger with his incarnation. You helped him to heal. Remember, if you want your dream analyzed on my show, go to dream-analysis.com, submit your dream or download the dictionary from there, and find out about all my upcoming courses and classes. Take care.